is it too much to ask that the GAO, the Government Accounting Office, be fucking accurate? Is that too much to ask?
Oh, that's me too. Come on. We'll do it.
According to the Cato Institute, they reported on the GAO, which just came out last week, weighing in on countering violent extremism. The ongoing controversy and litigation over the Trump administration's Muslim ban has reignited a debate that has raged since the 9/11 attacks. Who commits more domestic terrorism, violent Salafists or traditional right-wing extremists? According to the GAO, the Government Accountability Office report, it's the latter, and from a very wide margin. This is what they're fucking reporting, guys. From page 4 of the GAO's report, of the 85 violent extremist incidents that resulted in death since September 12th, 2001. What an interesting date to start with. You wouldn't think that if you did it maybe one day earlier, the numbers might be a little different? Fucking unbelievable. Since September 12th, 2001, far right-wing violent extremist groups were responsible for 62 or 73%, while radical Islam violent extremists were responsible for 23 incidents or 27%. Really? 62% of the incidences, huh? Well, what do you say we go through these fucking incidences? Because I've done the research. And you guys better strap in because this is going to take a little bit of time. But I'm going to go through each one of these fucking 62 incidences one by one. And you tell me. Now, I want you to think about what they're saying here. Right-wing violent extremist groups were responsible for 62 incidences, or 73% of all the incidences that happened between September 12th, 2001 and now. So I want you, before I start, I want you to think, when I say a far right-wing extremist group committing an incident, what do you think of? I'm going to pause it. I'm going to wait a few minutes. And I want you to hit the pause button, and I want you to put down in the comments what you think that means. What is the narrative? What do you? There's no wrong answer here. I just want to know what you think that is. I mean, you think of maybe a neo-Nazi skinhead biker group, a bunch of KKK members, something organized, somebody attacking people that were doing nothing wrong, that weren't a part of anything, that were targeted. It's very random. That's what I think of. So let's go through each of the instances. A white supremacist member of the Aryan Brotherhood killed a man on September 15, 2001 in Mesquite, Texas. Well, I looked at it. Yes, this could be considered a hate crime, even though it was the day after, or a couple of days after 9/11. The same guy 3 weeks later hits another victim, also in Mesquite, Texas. They classify as two separate incidences. I don't. It's the same guy. He was on a rampage. He doesn't get classified. So there's one. A white supremacist murdered an African American on 3/21/2002 in Portland, Oregon. I have looked. I can't find any record of this, so I'm not counting it. I'm not saying it didn't happen. And also, I want to make sure you guys keep in mind, I'm not trying to defend any of these people. They're all pieces of shit. Every one of them is a piece of shit. But I'm trying to fit a narrative. Is this a crazy extremist? Is this a part of a group? Is this a neo-Nazi on a hate? Or is it something else? So let's find out. A white supremacist murdered a transgender person on April 10th, 2002 in El Paso, Texas. According to the records, while the perpetrator seemed to be a white supremacist, the victim and he knew each other. They were in the same car, and the perp claimed it was keep their drug house a secret. Was it a hate crime? Yeah, maybe for the sentencing. I mean, it's not clear. Maybe he found out in the car that it was a transgender and killed him right there. You don't know. So we need to find this out. A far-right violent extremist murdered 3 fast food workers, one of Native American and 2 are Hispanic, on May 19, 2002 in Mesa, Arizona. So Chris Hargrave gets fired from a Jack-in-the-Box for stealing. He pretended to still be employed. He gained admittance where he killed the 3 workers that were there. Hargrave met and began dating Gail Driver, the daughter of the owners of a pawn shop. In April 2002, Hargrave began working at the Jack-in-the-Box in the Mesa Chandler area. On May 15th, he was fired from the Jack-in-the-Box for stealing. Hargrave had been living in a trailer on the driver's property and was asked to leave when he was fired from his job. So, the drivers, here, I'll just go through it. On May 19th, 2002, Hargrave and Boggs went in to rob the Jack-in-the-Box restaurant. Hargrave dressed in his work uniform and gained entrance to the restaurant under the guise that he'd been called back to work. Once inside, Hargrave distracted the 2 employees while Boggs went through the back door. Hargrave and Boggs then took the 3 employees into the cooler and shot them several times in the back. After stealing money from the registers from each victim, Hargrave and Boggs left the store and went to a nearby bank to withdraw money using one of the victims' stolen cards. One of the victims managed to crawl to a nearby phone and call police, as well as alert customers who also phoned the police. 2 days after the murder, Boggs traded the murder weapon for another gun at Driver's pawn shop. Drivers contacted the police, and Boggs was subsequently arrested when the police confirmed the gun was the murder weapon from the restaurant. So is this white supremacy? Or maybe he's just a piss-off guy who lost his job and his girl on the same day? Maybe he figured into it, but the sole reason? I just don't see it. Neo-Nazi murdered a gay man. June 12th, Tucson, Arizona. Philip Wallstead murdered by David Higdon, an avowed neo-Nazi. This was definitely a hate crime, so I'm counting it. Don't worry, I'm keeping score. Anti-government sovereign citizen murdered an Ohio police officer on August 2nd, 2002 in Massillon, Ohio. This appears to actually be the August 9th shooting of Eric Taylor, an officer who was killed by Donnell Matthews, who began quoting him the 13th Amendment instead of handing over his driver's license. Do you see this as being a hate crime or a far right-wing violent extremist? The way they kind of talk about it. Is he part of a group? It sounds like a nut. And they can't even get the date right. 2 white supremacist skinheads murdered a man on August 30th, 2002 in Las Vegas, Nevada. I couldn't find any record of this. White supremacist skinhead beat a man to death outside a diner on September 1st, 2002 in St. Louis, Missouri. I also can't find any record of this. White supremacist murdered a bisexual man 12/14/2002, Salinas, California. Hard to say. 2 of the perps were 19 and 20, and the other was a transient. Might have murdered him for being bi, but maybe just for being available. They denied their guilt. They never yelled white supremacist stuff, so it's really not certain. White supremacists murdered a homeless man on March 23rd, 2003, Tacoma, Washington. Curtis Moschke went hunting for someone to kill in March of 2003, aiming to rise through the ranks of white supremacist movement by beating to death a homeless man. Moschke was 20, convicted of first-degree aggravated murder, and will spend his life in prison. He had only been out of juvenile hall 9 months when he and his 3 friends on March 23rd bought beer and baseball hats, then found 42-year-old Randall Townsend sleeping underneath a bridge near the Tacoma Dome. Randall Townsend is white. They couldn't find a black guy to beat up, So the first homeless guy they came across, they murdered him. Now, is this stretching the definition a little bit if white supremacists kill a white guy? I mean, maybe this is good. Maybe the white guys are protected too in hate crimes, but is that really what the GAO is trying to show? Do you think that fulfills their narrative? And does it fulfill the Cato Institute's reporting on it? An anti-government militiaman is shot and killed a Michigan State trooper on July 7th, 2003 in Fremont, Michigan. Trooper Kevin Marshall is killed by the militia member in a standoff. They went to get him. It was a standoff. He got killed. Hate crime? Random hate crime, just grabbing somebody and targeting them for no reason because other than they are a minority or something? I don't see it. White supremacists. Notice how every one of these guys are white supremacists, neo-Nazis. Listen to how they're defined. And we'll get into how the other guys are defined. White supremacists shot and killed 6 workers at the Lockheed Martin plant. As 5 of the 6 people killed by Williams were black and co-workers described him as making racist remarks, it was initially believed the murder might have been racially motivated. However, police stated that the shooting was more likely random as most of the injured were white. One of Williams' cousins says he was not a racist and even had black friends. The cousin described him as depressed. He also said Doug Williams had expressed concern about something to do with meeting at work. It was said that Williams had threatened others for no reason and was angry at everybody. He had run-ins with management, fellow workers, and felt mistreated. Is this a white supremacist, a far-right crazy person? I don't know. I mean, do you feel like that fits the narrative? Neo-Nazi killed sex offender priest, 8/23/2003 in Shirley, Massachusetts. Yes, he was a neo-Nazi. He was also in prison already. And he was a little crazy, having mailed his own feces to the Attorney General. This was a lunatic. And he killed a child-molesting priest in prison. I mean, this doesn't feel like the picture they're trying to portray. I mean, it's a white priest. It's a priest. It's religion. That's what they're all supposed to be about. He killed a sex offender. I don't know what you call that. It doesn't seem to fit this narrative of groups that are targeting minorities. Anti-government constitutionalists killed 2 in standoff over land in 12/18/2003 in Abbeville, South Carolina. So they were assuming the feds were coming to take their land. They weren't out there looking for victims. Yes, they acted terribly. But is this the same as a hate attack? It's a standoff, isn't it? It's not the same thing. White supremacists killed a man while hunting down Mexicans in Dayton, Arizona on January 9th, 2004. I can't find any record of this one. White supremacists murdered 2 homeless men on April 15th, 2005 in Hingham, Massachusetts. Eric J. Snow and James Winkis killed 2 homeless guys who appeared to be white. Described as others as skinheads, but the killers showed off tattoos that said Thug Life. I can't find anything that shows this was race-related in any way, just asshole psychos. I mean, they killed white people. Does it count if white supremacists kill white people in the narrative that GA... Remember, I'm trying to confine myself to the narrative. In my mind, these are all just assholes that need to be put away. I don't care what they did or why they did it. They just need to be put away. They're garbage. But you're coming up with this whole hate and far right and everything else. Does this seem to be what you're trying to do to tell us about? I don't understand it. 6 white supremacist inmates beat another prisoner to death on 10/14/2005 in Kingman, Arizona. I couldn't find any record of this. Again, an inmate is murdered by other inmates. Is this really kind of thing you think the narrative the GAO is trying to permit? I just don't see it. White supremacist skinhead murdered an American woman on 12/16/2005 in Mays Landing, New Jersey. Walter Dilley walked up to a car in a theater parking lot and shot a black woman. This fits as much as a hate crime should. counting it. It's absolutely. Neo-Nazi murdered a gay man, 3/23/2006 in Newport Richey, Florida. John Allen Fitillo appears to be a textbook hater. I'm counting it. White supremacist inmate killed his African cellmate. 11/13/2006 in Shipley, Florida. I can't find any record, but again, an inmate murdered by another inmate. Is this what you think of when the narrative is being pushed by the media? White supremacist murders Hispanic man in convenience store after argument on July 2nd, 2007 in Lubbock, Texas. Mitchell Aaron Wachholtz saw some black men talking loudly. He was on drugs. He panicked and opened fire. He was scared. Okay, this is shitty. This is stupid, but he was on drugs and he was a moron and he was scared. Is this a white supremacist or just a moron? White supremacist murders Lubbock, Texas police officer on August 15, 2007 in Brandon, Florida. Okay, Michael Phillips killed Sergeant Ron Harrison. He was a career criminal, was probably a racist, but it's really unclear if that was his motive. Maybe he didn't like cops. The fun part of this one is that the Florida judge who had him for another beef, and as well as he had 19 fucking arrests, and they all knew this, gave him a ridiculously low bail, allowing him to get out and murder this cop. So, Big Daddy government, who's really at fault there? Huh? No, you don't take any responsibility. It's just another white supremacist, and we'll just sweep it under the rug. 2 white supremacists murdered a gay man as initiation rite. October 26, 2007 in Goldsby, Oklahoma. Darrell Madden kidnapped Stephen Dormer, a gay man, and killed him. Serving life in prison, he apologized to the brother of the victim, who accepted and forgave him. Probably a hate crime, probably an asshole. I went ahead and counted it. Skinhead gang murdered a Hispanic woman. Skinhead gang murdered a Hispanic man, 12/4/2007 in Yucaipa, California. I can't find any record of this case. Middle school skinhead student shot and killed gay peer. February 12, 2008 in Oxnard, California. Brandon McInerney killed Larry King. No, not the one you're thinking of. It was a young boy who was gay. Now, I can find no evidence of Brandon being a skinhead. He did have a shit home life with a violent dad and a mom addicted to meth. Larry would attend school wearing high heels and women's clothing. While he was bullied early on, later he taunted other boys and seemed to be trying to push Brandon's buttons in particular. And when Brandon got upset being teased, the principal, a lesbian by the way, came down hard on Brandon. So Brandon came in and shot Larry the next day. Now, there's no excuse for what he did. But when you hear that story, and there's a lot more to it, does this sound like the narrative? Does this sound like just some skinhead just went after some gay kid who wasn't doing nothing? I mean, context, there's got to be some context in this shit. And there's none. White supremacist teens beat a Hispanic man to death on July 12, 2008, Shenandoah, Pennsylvania. A couple of stupid kids, Brandon Piekarski and Derek Donchak, 19 and 21 respectively, beat a Hispanic to death. Now, I don't think they actually wanted to kill him, but they were drunk and stupid. Did they live their lives like white supremacists? Did they go too far with anti-immigration? They didn't like Latinos living in their town. Is that white supremacy? I guess I'll count this one. But it didn't feel like people who had dedicated their lives to the preservation of the white race. It sounded like a couple of drunks who were getting tired of Hispanics causing what they perceived was trouble in their town. Again, they deserve everything they get. Every one of these people deserve everything they get. I'm not trying to defend them. I'm just trying to contextualize this. If you're going to count this, and you're going to create this narrative, the GAO, and the press is going to report it, I want to know what the specifics are. And the specifics paint a very different picture. Strap in, because I got a lot more here. Anti-government violent extremists killed 2 at a Tennessee Valley Unitarian Universalist Church on July 27, 2008 in Knoxville, Tennessee. Okay, an anti-government dickhead who wanted to kill Democrats. He was indeed a nut. He couldn't hold a job. Fuck it, I'll count it. White man obsessed with Nazism murdered an African-American man and a Hispanic man on August 1st, 2008 in Bristol, Pennsylvania. He was a forklift operator with a lot of racist views. He was a bully at work. He was fired in April. Then he comes back in August to shoot up the place. He was a nutcase, but spouted a lot of racist bullshit, so I'll count it. White supremacist teams murdered an Ecuadorian immigrant. November 8th, 2009 in Pachagu, New York. I think that's how you pronounce it. Pachagu, I don't know. A gang of teens that targeted Hispanics, an asshole street gang. Now, I'm not going to count this because there is not one black street gang that targets whites on this list. And don't tell me that it hasn't happened. We've seen videos of it. And if you're not going to count that, I'm not going to count the teen street gangs who pull this shit. It's not really in the narrative. 2 anti-government violent extremists planted a bomb inside a bank, killing 2. 12/12/2008, Woodburn, Oregon. Okay, so we had 2 morons who had psychological problems, were worried about the new Obama administration, they decided to get money from the bank. Bank robbery. Yes. Hate crime. Far-rightist murdered a homeless man on January 19, 2009 in Woodstock, Illinois. So Kyle Morgan kills a homeless man. He pleads insanity. He has a fascination with serial killers. I guess that makes you a far-rightist. What the fuck? I mean, there was nothing in anything he did that had any views about anything. He just liked serial killers. But they're counting it. White supremacists killed 2 immigrants. But the number, now that's what this says, but the number shows 1. So they can't even get the fucking numbers correct. Says 2, counted as 1. I don't know. Keith Luke, a self-described neo-Nazi, did target minorities and was a complete nutcase, saying he was angry about black men raping and killing white women on a genocidal scale, and that Jew-controlled media have done nothing to report it. Oh, and he killed himself in 2014 in jail. I'll go ahead and count it. Same perpetrator's previous case in Brockton, Massachusetts, killed a homeless man a day later. I'm not counting this one. It's the same guy. Separate incidents? I'm not going to let you juice up the numbers like that. To be fair, they do the same thing on the Islamist side as well, but I'm not going to let them juice up those numbers either. Neo-Nazi murdered Wesleyan University Jewish student, May 6, 2009 in Middleton, Connecticut. So Stephen Morgan did write about a Jewish Columbine in his journal before he shot Joanna Justin Chinich, a 21-year-old girl he had been obsessed over. Hate crime or jilted lover? And it turns out he was also schizophrenic. But I guess the GAO counts it. It's unbelievable. White supremacists murdered 2 immigrants in home invasion, May 30th, 2009 in Arabica, Arizona. Jason Eugene Bush and Shauna Ford invaded a Hispanic family's house and murdered them, including a little girl. Jason was part of the Minuteman American Defense, and Shauna was tossed out of the Minutemen Civil Defense Corps. They were shit racists. There's no argument on this one. Anti-government sovereign citizen murdered abortion provider Dr. George Tiller on May 31st, 2009 in Wichita, Kansas. Okay, Tiller was a fucking monster. Alright, there are abortion doctors and then there are monsters. That being said, he was murdered. And it was by Scott Roeder, a man with schizophrenia and bipolar disorder, who thought he was saving babies. Is this the same thing as the narrative they are pushing? Yeah, okay, sovereign citizen craziness and other stuff in his history, I get it, but this is not... I don't think this is the same thing. I'm not going to count it. I think this is a stretch. White supremacists killed Holocaust Museum guard on June 10th, 2009, Washington, D.C. An 88-year-old man, James Von Brunn, Jesus Christ, shot Stephen Tyrone Johns. He was a white supremacist and a Holocaust denier. He was also found to have child porn on his computer, and he was so old he died of natural causes awaiting trial. Even Stormfront denounced this guy, so make of that what you will. I'm going to head counting that one. White supremacists and associate killed a child molester. June 30th, 2009 in Carmichael, California. Charles Francis Gaskins killed a white convicted child molester, 66-year-old Neil Lee Hayes. Okay, what narrative are we trying to make here? Are child molesters now a protected minority? White supremacy? What's that got to do with white supremacy? I don't understand this one at all. White supremacist murdered his stepfather to gain street cred on July 28th, 2009 in Paradise, California. Again, I can't find any record of this one. Now, just because I couldn't find a record of it doesn't mean that it didn't happen. I'm not going to say that it did or did not happen. I just can't find any record of it, and if I can't see the details, I'm not going to count it as some sort of weird far-right hate crime until I know the details. And if I don't have the details, I can't do that. Two white supremacist skinheads shoot at an interracial couple and killed the female. 10/3/2009 in Phoenix, Arizona. This one's definitely a hate crime. Not sure if they were skinheads or just tattooed bald dudes, but black guy was with his white girlfriend. They took shots at him, killed the white girlfriend. Pieces of shit. Anti-government, violent extremists, far-right, anti-government, violent extremist, flew a small plane into Austin, Texas building with the U.S. Internal Revenue Service office to protest the IRS and the government. February 18, 2010, Austin, Texas. Yeah, he did this. And he was portrayed as far right. Even though his suicide note ended this way, quote, I saw it written once that the definition of insanity is repeating the same process over and over and expecting the outcome to suddenly be different. I am finally ready to stop this insanity. Well, Mr. Big Brother IRS man, let's try something different. Take my pound of flesh and sleep well. The Communist Creed, from each according to his ability to each according to his need. The Capitalist Creed, from each according to his gullibility to each according to his greed. End quote. Oh yeah, he was far right. Fuck me. Are you kidding me? Just a bunch of fucking liars. That's all you guys are in the government anymore. You're just a bunch of fucking liars. Neo-Nazi killed an African-American man, March 29, 2010. South Huntington, Pennsylvania. I can't find any record of this one. White supremacists shot and killed 4 women, then killed a man. April 20th, 2010, Wichita Falls, Texas. Ross Muehlberger comes into a Hastings bookstore and injures 3 black women, 1 Hispanic woman, and kills Tim Donnelly, a white guy. He was yelling white power apparently before killing himself, but the only people killed were white. What do you make of that? The only people the white supremacists killed were white. Is this really the narrative they're trying to push here? He obviously had mental problems. I'm not going to count that. It's bullshit. I expect my white supremacists to be killing black people like the old days. Then I'll count it as a hate crime. They're killing us. If they're killing themselves, then they're the worst white supremacists ever. 2 sovereign citizen members killed 2 police officers, May 21st, 2010, West Memphis, Arkansas. Before Jerry Kane and his son Joseph Kane killed the police officers, they complained that they were being stopped by a Nazi checkpoint. Far left? No, far right. Of course, far right. They were worried about the Nazis. Okay, right. Prison gang white supremacists murdered another inmate for not objecting to having an African-American cellmate. They didn't kill the African-American cellmate. They killed the white guy for not objecting to having one. This was apparently on March 1st, 2011, Atlanta, Georgia. And again, it's inmates killing inmates again. I'm discarding these instances as a part of the narrative. It's bullshit. Worst white supremacists ever. White supremacist teenagers run over and kill an African-American man in a motel parking lot. June 26, 2011, Jackson, Mississippi. Yeah, they were racist. They saw James Anderson trying to break into his car. It was his own. He lost his keys. And so they used it as an excuse to beat him up and run him over because he was black. So I don't have any issues with this one. Two white supremacists murdered a 53-year-old African-American man on October 4th, 2011, in Eureka, California. Holly Grigsby and Joey Peterson hatched a plan to go killing people for the preservation of the white race. Yep, definitely counts. However, I'm not counting the next one. The same perpetrators as previous case in Eureka, perpetrators killed a teenager they thought was Jewish. It's all part of the same deal. You don't get to count two more incidences for the same people. Bullshit. Neo-Nazi killed 6 at Sikh Temple in Wisconsin on August 5th, 2012, Oak Creek, Wisconsin. Yeah, bunch of Sikhs were killed by Wade Michael Page, a white supremacist. He was part of the groups that were recognized as groups. He was actually part of them. He was the only one so far that actually found part of the groups. But fine, definitely count it. 2 neo-Nazis and a third associate murdered a local drug dealer, who was white, by the way. This happened on January 9, 2013, Verona, Kentucky. Daniel Deflin was a heroin dealer who was killed by Jeffrey Allen, 21, of Verona, Anthony Baumgartner, 23, of Florence, Kentucky, and Stephen Harkness, 22, of Verona, who wanted to, quote, rid the world of evil, end quote. Vigilante justice? Crazy people? Yes, and yes. Neo-Nazis? I can't find any evidence of that. Anti-government survivalist boarded a school bus with a gun and demanded a student be given to him. And then he shot and killed the bus driver. January 29, 2013, Midland City, Alabama. So here's a guy, Jimmy Dykes, who had lost contact with his adult daughter, had numerous minor charges. He beat a neighbor's dog to death with a pipe, built a speed bump to stop motorists from driving too fast. I think some weird political motive is a stretch, to say the least. He wanted to commit suicide on national television in a bunker he had. It just doesn't really... does that fit this narrative? Remember the narrative I had you type out. Does this fit what they're trying to shove on you? That Nazis and skinheads are rampant. And they could grab you at any moment. 2 white supremacists killed a husband and a wife because the husband was a sex offender. July 21st, 2013, Jonesville, South Carolina. Christine and Jeremy Moody, yes, were admitted neo-Nazis or skinheads, but just seemed to want to kill people. And killed white people. Although, what does killing sex offenders have to do with white supremacy? They seem more like religious nuts. I don't know. They admitted enough. I'm going to go ahead and count this one because I'm feeling nice. Anti-government extremists killed Transportation Security Administration officer at Los Angeles International Airport, November 1st, 2013, Los Angeles, California. Paul Anthony Ciencia hated the TSA and the government. He was suicidal. And come on, you've been to the airport. Look what they did to that poor Chinese guy out there. Don't you think, do you think this is really a far-right thing? I'm not trying to defend Paul. He's a piece of shit. Everybody here is a piece of shit. But the narrative. Remember the narrative. White supremacists shot and killed 2 at Jewish Community Center. April 13th, 2014, Overland Park, Kansas. This is in my neck of the woods. It's very close to me. Fraser Glenn Mueller, he was a Jew hater, plotted the deaths of Jews. It was a definite hate crime. I'm counting it. But I'm not counting the next one because it's the same perpetrator as the previous attack at Overland Park. He went to Leawood and he murdered another person at a Jewish retirement center later the same day. Same guy, same day. It's not another incident. It's the same incident. Anti-government married couple killed 2 officers during shooting rampage on Las Vegas Strip. June 8, 2014, Las Vegas, Nevada. Jared and Amanda Miller, anti-government activists, went on a crazy killing spree. They draped a swastika flag on a victim, so I'm counting this one. But not the next one. Same perpetrators. As previous attack in Vegas, perpetrators murdered another person later that same day. Same incident. No, you don't get 2 incidents out of that. Anti-government extremist Eric Freen murdered a state trooper, Whitehaven, Pennsylvania, on September 12, 2014. Freen was found guilty on all charges just 1 week before I made this video. So, April 17th, 2017. He didn't like cops, but he liked to pretend he was a Serbian soldier who loved Rambo. And interestingly enough, he was in film, in small films in Hollywood, or at least in the film industry, and he once played a Nazi soldier in an anti-Nazi film. And he wanted to get it right because they were portraying Nazis as bad guys, and he understood that and he knew it. But he played a Nazi in anti-Nazi film, so of course he's a Nazi, right? This is too vague to count it. Too much going on here. White supremacist Dylan Roof shot and killed 9 African Americans in a shooting at an African American church in Charleston, South Carolina, June 27, 2015. Yeah, we all know about it, Dylan Roof. He's a racist piece of shit. Of course I'm counting this one. Right-wing extremists opened fire to kill 2 young women among patrons during an Amy Schumer movie. July 23, 2015, in Lafayette, Louisiana. Well, who hasn't been driven to murder by Amy Schumer? I mean, come on. John Russell Hauser had a history of mental issues, including bipolar disorder. He had right-wing views, and I don't know, there's a lot of people with right-wing views that don't shoot up theaters, but he did praise Hitler on a message board once, so I don't know. Fuck it, I'll count it. White supremacist shot and killed 9 in his community college, October 1st, 2015, in Roseburg, Oregon. Chris Harper Mercer was pissed about being a virgin and idolized mass killers. At one point, he described himself as mixed race. White supremacy doesn't seem to be proven. Only unnamed sources claim this. He's a shitheel, to be sure, but again, remember the narrative. Anti-government survivalist extremists killed 3 at Planned Parenthood clinic, including a responding police officer. November 27, 2015, Colorado Springs, Colorado. Again, killing abortionists. Robert Louis Deere was a religious nut and found incompetent to stand trial. If he's confined to a mental hospital, I'm not counting as part of the narrative. He's not even nuts. He's too nuts to stand trial. That's crazy. So, you see all those. Now, what about, that's 62 incidences that they say happened. Now, there's some double ups there, which I didn't count. The total number of victims is 106 people died. My count comes up to 20 incidences that are really hate crimes. You can agree or disagree on some of the finer points. But really, do you think all 62 are hate crimes? Do you think all 62 follow the narrative that the GAO is trying to push on us and the Cato Institute? I don't. Now let's take a look at the Islamic ones. Now this isn't going to take quite as long. First of all, they say there's only 23 instances. In the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 out of the 23 are the Washington, D.C. Beltway sniper attacker. I make that 15 because in between then, a radical Islamist violent extremist killed 2 at a Los Angeles International Airport El Al ticket counter. Every one of these they describe as the Washington, D.C. Beltway sniper attacker. Then the next one. There'll be no describing these people the way they describe the right side. The right side is described as white supremacists and neo-Nazis, anti-government extremists. There's a description there. There's something that's kind of leading you towards believing about these people, that you form the proper mental image in your mind. None of these guys are described in those slanted terms. They're described in very neutral terms. All the Islamic bombings are described in neutral terms, or they're described specifically. The first 16, except for the first one, which they call a radical Islamist violent extremist, that's the only one that I see that says that. The rest of them, the rest of the first 16 are Washington, D.C. Beltway sniper attacker. We have no idea why. Perpetrator kills 1 at Jewish Federation of Care. Perpetrator. That was on July 28th, 2006. Perpetrator kills 1, injures 18 in hit-and-run driving spree in San Francisco and Fremont, California, August 29th, Fremont, California. Salt Lake City, Utah, Trolley Square shooting, February 12th, 2007. Perpetrator killed 1 Army soldier outside of a military recruiting center in Little Rock, Arkansas, June 1st, 2009. Nidal Malik Hassan kills 12 soldiers and 1 civilian at Fort Hood, Texas. I wonder why. Boston bomber Tamarian Sarnoff helps murder 3 persons 4 years before the Boston bombing, 9/11/2001, Waltham, Massachusetts. Rashad Riddle, a convert to Islam, must be a coincidence, murders his father, 3/24/2013, Ashtabula, Ohio. Boston bomber brothers Tamarian Tsarnoff and Dojakar Tsarnoff planted 2 bombs at the Boston Marathon, killing 3, April 15, 2013. And then there's a separate one. Sarnoff brothers shot and killed a Massachusetts Institute of Technology security officer. Yeah, when they were on the run. April 27, 2014. Incident 1 in a series of related murders. Perpetrator shot and killed a man in a drive-by shooting. Incident 2 in a series of... Look at how sterile these are. No Islamist. No Muslim extremist. No neo-Muslim fundamental. No. Incident 1. Perpetrator shot. Very sterile. Incident 2 in a series of related murders. Perpetrator shot and killed 2 men in Seattle leaving a gay club, June 1st, 2014. Incident 3 in a series of related murders. Perpetrator shot and killed a man in a drive-by shooting and killed a college student, June 25th, 2014. Justin Nojan Sullivan, a convert to Islam, murdered his neighbor, 12/18/2014. Perpetrator opened fire on 2 military installations in Chattanooga, Tennessee, killing 5, July 16, 2015. San Bernardino, California shooting spree. Sayed Farouk and Tashfeen Malik shoot up office party, killing 14, injuring 22, 12/2/2015. June 12, 2016, Orlando nightclub shooting. Omar Mateen killed 49. 23 incidences. And quite frankly, several of them are all related. There's probably about 10 incidences in here. The total number of victims, the other one, the total number of victims was 106. You know what the total number of victims here? 119. There's more, with only 23 incidences. Oh, and by the way, we started this on September 12th, 2001. So there's kind of a big number there that got left out of this. It's fucking unbelievable. You see how they try to craft a narrative and get you to see things in a way that's inaccurate, to be very nice about it. And the fucking media picks it up. The Cato Institute is right there with their little story here, picking it up, saying it makes it seem like terrorism is only exclusively perpetrated by Muslims. Most of these were terrorism. I'm sorry, but they're not. These are the lies that they're pulling on you. You want to buy into this shit? This is an absolute travesty. This report is an absolute fucking travesty. And the fact that it was put out here and that I had to go through here and find out all the information on these. Now, you want to nitpick one or two, that's fine. But this was horse shit. It is absolute horse shit. Whoever works at the GAO, you should be fired. This is absolute crap. This is the most ridiculous, bigoted bullshit I've ever seen in my life. So, there you go. 45 minutes of that. I hope you're still with me. Thanks for watching. More videos coming soon.